Hey guys, it's Core Ross, and today I'm going to tell you what I think of Outriders after playing it for a couple of hours at the tail end of 2020. So I got contacted by Square Enix to come in and play this game remotely, so I was actually playing on their computers in their studios while I was sitting at home, which was very cool, and they were doing the recording so that I could get the crisp version sent over to me later, which is pretty cool. And of course, many other YouTubers also got the same opportunity as me, so there's lots of videos out there with kind of different opinions, so I recommend checking out a whole bunch of them. Now, the way I went into this game session is that I didn't do any research at all. I wanted to go in cold, and I also didn't want to have any misconceptions from reading or watching any marketing material for this game that'll be out in early kind of 2021. And my initial impressions of playing it is that it feels like a mix of Gears of War and Destiny. Like, it has the Destiny loot system, and it also has the gameplay that feels very reminiscent, and even the style of it looks a lot like kind of Gears of War, and it kind of plays a little bit like Gears of War. But it's also got its own twist on it as well. And the main difference really is that there's no healing spells, there's no healing abilities, you don't get health regeneration over time or anything like that. Instead, if you're doing damage either with your gun or your abilities, then you get health for the damage you do, which means you want to play this game super aggressive. You want to be getting in potentially close with a shotgun and melee, using all your close range abilities, or you may want to hang back with a sniper rifle and some long range abilities, just picking off enemies, doing a lot of damage, and just keeping the momentum up. And that's where it's very interesting, and especially if you're in a cooperative party. Now, I only got to play a solo, but I could imagine in a cooperative party, this could get really interesting, especially with all the mix of different abilities that each class and character can be customized with. Now, there is the potential that this could get a little bit boring though. So when I first started this out, I found it very difficult. When I was kind of just getting into it and learning the abilities, I was getting killed quite often, and I just couldn't quite figure out how until I actually learned the abilities. Then I was kicking ass after that. But I am a bit worried that maybe you could get into a kind of just a normal thing where you're just blasting away enemies, and then suddenly you hit a wall where you hit like a hard enemy, and suddenly you're back to actually having to use cover, and you're like, you know, it kind of mixes you up. And I could see that being a potential issue if it kind of interrupts the gameplay in a way that just has you suddenly changing from one type of gameplay to another. Whereas if it does regularly kind of put you up against difficult bosses where you do have to use the cover mechanics and you do have to switch it up on a regular basis, I could actually see that being quite good. Now let's run you through the class that I was playing. So I was the Technomancer. Now this guy basically, you know, he's a wizard but with guns. And the basic kind of principle of him that I was told, because I had a developer in the call me the entire way through, that I could ask questions whenever I wanted. And I asked at the start, what is this class best at? What's their kind of go-to setup and stuff? And he's like, turrets all the way. So I gave myself two different versions of a turret. One that basically like sprayed acid all over the place, and another one just shot at bad guys. And they were a little bit overpowered, I would say. By the end of the play session, when I'd learned how to use all my abilities and do stuff, I was kicking ass without actually having to do anything. Like, I could literally just throw my turrets out, let them do all the work. He was a little bit overpowered, and apparently at this point in development, he'd already been nerfed quite significantly, and I assume he'll get nerfed even more by the time this game comes around to release. Now, there is another bonus to the Technomancer as well that I was told. Apparently he's the only one who can actually heal other members of the party, yet again just from doing damage, but that's one of his kind of skill sets too, is that he can actually help to heal up everybody else, and apparently he's the only one that can do that, so that's kind of a nice bonus for that character too. But when it comes to the other ones, we'll get the Pyromancer, Trickster and Devastator, so it's going to be interesting to see how they all mix up in the party of 3 that you can have maximum in co-op. And I think co-op is going to be where this game will shine. Whereas in solo, it's a little bit boring. I could see myself not being too entertained while playing through the campaign, but maybe it will work out as a solo playthrough. But just, I think it'll be far richer with your two buddies alongside you. But let's move away from gameplay for the moment, and let's talk about the vehicle that you have. So you have this customizable big truck basically, and the best analog I can kind of think of is Destiny's little spaceship that you can get and customize and fly around in. It doesn't have any gameplay elements to it, but at least you've got something that's personalizable, which hopefully other players will be able to see. And you yourself can see this vehicle parked at the areas you travel to, and also when you change regions, you get a little cutscene, which is obviously the loading screen, showing that vehicle actually travel a little bit and give you a nice little cinematic of it doing its thing. Hopefully as well, maybe there'll be gameplay mechanics where there'll be missions where you actually control it or do something from it. But in my gameplay, I wasn't able to see anything where the actual vehicle was used at all. It was just a cosmetic kind of item. Talking about customization, you of course have a skill tree for your character that you can go and skill out into different things if you want to go. Like for me, I went and looked at everything I could get that was turret based, and you could also get like sniper based stuff. You can get different abilities like mortar shells and things like that for my character, so I could customize that tree however I want. And of course, that'll be a great thing for finding the best build for you when playing with friends, or potentially doing, of course, hard missions or raids or whatever this game will have for end game content eventually. But anyway, let's move on to my conclusions about this game. And I had a total of 2 hours playing it, but the last half an hour I was actually ahead of time because my character was just a little bit overpowered. So that last half an hour, because the developer basically said into my ear, you're on the last kind of mission that's allowed in this preview. So he said you might want to double back and check out some previous areas and look around and mess about before actually going on to the final mission. So I had about an hour and a half actually doing the content I was allowed to access, and then half an hour just kind of messing about and trying different abilities and just seeing what I could do with them. Now, for gameplay, I'm a little bit worried. Like, it is potentially going to be quite fun, but the big thing is going to be how replayable is it. There was some nice stuff that was in the gameplay, so like I could find kind of random bounties that were in different areas that I could go after, and they were kind of like mini bosses. So if they have enough of that kind of reappear every so often, that could be quite good to revisit. But I'm a bit worried that it might be kind of like Destiny 1, where you kind of just go through an area and then there's not really any reason to replay it so much. But we'll have to see. We'll just have to see, especially when, of course, the full game comes out and how much content is going to be in there. And then I do like the aggressive gameplay, like really just going balls to the wall is the best way to play it, which is kind of cool, and I can see it being very cool with a coordinated team of friends and just, you know, trying to speedrun missions and stuff like that. But for someone who wants to take a bit more of a casual approach, that could potentially be a little bit too intense, but you do have the cover system to fall back on where you potentially could take your time and not be as intense. So there is a nice kind of wide range of how to play it, but it is definitely set up for the more aggressive playstyle. And the customization of the skill trees and stuff, that's all very good and, you know, pretty normal for this type of game. And that'll mean good variety when it comes to not just obviously playing different characters, but then customize those characters to how you want to play them. So that's really good. Seems to be good enough customization in there. Like I say, there's balancing to do, but that is just something that will happen over time anyway, so that doesn't concern me. Then you've got the vehicle, a little bit boring. I'm hoping that it's going to be more kind of Destiny 2 spaceship rather than Destiny 1 spaceship, where it just really isn't a big part of the game and it's a bit boring, and there's not really a reason to go out and hunt down like maybe special versions of your vehicle, like that you can really get like different customizations and stuff, different truck types. That would be cool. I hope there's going to be enough of that to keep it interesting, and also it has to be on display for your teammates. Like, you're going to have to see it. That's the great thing about Destiny. You join a party, you're all flying in your spaceships. That is cool. It shows off your custom ship. I hope there's something similar here that shows off your custom truck as well. Even if it is just simply in the kind of cinematic where you're switching region and your trucks are all going in a convoy. That would be awesome. Now, one downside that I don't like is the Destiny style loot system, where the loot just kind of falls out at enemies, lands on the ground. It is just too, like, it's just too easy to go look at it. And, you know, in the middle of a gunfight, which is not how this game obviously should be played. You're supposed to be going balls to the wall, not stopping to go, oh, is that a new gun on the ground? So I'm not a big fan of the looting system. It doesn't feel like it fits the gameplay at all, and I'm worried about that really pulling me out of the experience when I'm actually trying to kick ass. So not a fan of the loot system, and of course that has kind of plagued Destiny and stuff like that out there, so I'm a bit worried that this might end up with the same kind of issues where you're just going to end up with all this kind of crap in your inventory, and then have issues of really just being kind of constantly trying to upgrade and constantly looking at what's falling out of enemies during a gunfight. So not a fan of that, but maybe it won't be such a big deal. And then of course you've got the usual early access stuff when I get to play any kind of preview build of a game. It's a bit glitchy, there was some issues. Because I was playing remote play, sometimes the connection would go down, which was kind of hilarious to watch. And also the animations were sometimes a little bit off, but of course that's stuff they will polish over time. So hopefully they do manage to polish that. And of course this is going to be a game where they need to keep adding content to it. Not many developers have been successful at that. So that's a worry too. Will this game kind of fizzle out? But overall, it's fun to play. It's enjoyable. It's got a bit of a different gameplay element and different way of playing it, which is unique and quite fun, and especially I think will be good in co-op. And overall, I'm not sure if it's my kind of game that I would go out and buy and play with friends, but I could see definitely a lot of people potentially really enjoying it. The major issue is of course just going to be content. Will there be enough of it, I think. And if they get that right, then they've got a winner on their hands here. But there we go guys, that is my opinion of 2 hours of playing Outriders from Square Enix, and just basically my opinion on the game so far and what I have had kind of access to play. I might get to play some more of this, and hopefully at some point get to actually play some co-op, but it will be coming out for some sort of demo in the future, and of course fully releasing after that. So you will have an idea and you will be able to actually try it for yourself before buying it. But anyway guys, let me know what you think of this in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.